Okay, so this is the SugarU live webinar. We have a series, and this is just happens to be the September session, which is optimizing sales team management in SugarCell for manufacturing. Now, I said this earlier, I don't know if everybody was on the line, but manufacturing isn't the whole presentation. I mean, we have some things that have to do specifically with manufacturing, but you could use any of these things to manage your teams in Sugar. So the last session was how to use SugarCell for, say, an end user, how they would do it and optimize their use of SugarCell. So if you're interested in the end user session, there was one previous to this, but I still recommend all sales managers listen to the end user one, but also this one because it's going to add a little bit, another layer of information that I think you may need to know. So just so I get an idea of where everybody is here, I'm going to introduce myself first, and then I'd like you to do basically where you are located, right? So I am Andrea Ayers. I am in just north of Austin, Texas, and in Central Texas area. It is a beautiful day out today. It was pretty um, gloomy looking yesterday, but hey, we love the rain here, so we don't get it as often as some of you do. I'm in SugarU. So SugarU is just Sugar University. You may hear it that too. It's just a training department inside of Sugar CRM. I've been with Sugar for 15 years, going on 16 years in a couple of months. And I'm a senior product trainer, instructional designer. I'm a certified sugar administration specialist, which just means I passed the administration specialist exam that we have. If any of you have questions about the exam or want to take the exam, shoot me an email afterwards. I have emailed all of you this morning my time, sorry, with my email address. So you're welcome to email me back if you have questions about the certification. Also, or not mine, but SugarU's Twitter feed is also Sugar CRMU. So if you want to track anything that's coming up with us, you can, follow us if you want. And our specific website inside of all the other places in Sugar that link to Sugar University is university.sugarcrm.com. Okay, if you want to access that. So just so I know everybody knows how to use chat, I'd like you to put into chat the city and state if you're in the US, country and city if you're outside the US, because I won't know the provinces or states in other countries. Sorry, I barely know mine. So just type in a chat where you are located, just so I get an idea of who's out there. And I've got a pretty good sized crowd. So I just want to make sure everybody can use the chat feature. Because I've done webinars here lately and people have not been able to do chat. Okay, I'm not getting any answers, so one second. Here we go. Okay, try it now. For some reason, once again, that was turned off. Put it to chat. Some people were able and some people weren't for some reason. All right. Okay, so I have a Massachusetts, Indiana, um, uh, Edmonton. Out. Okay, I'm a big hockey fan. Sorry, not for Edmonton, but I'm a big Seattle fan. But we just played Edmonton the other night, so I know where that is for sure. Oh, I got a couple of UK. Great, excellent. Anybody else? California, super. Georgia, great. We have got a wide range, especially in the US, but also um, here. Another Canada, excellent. So glad y'all are here. Okay, so everybody can chat now. All right, so for those of you that couldn't previously, I don't know why it's for some and not all, but anyway, um, if you have any additional questions, if you know them right now that you want to ask, you can go ahead, okay? I will look over there every once in a while as I start presenting the material, okay? I'll repeat the questions to everyone and then I'll answer it, okay? All right, so let me move to the next slide then. Okay, so this is our agenda. So we had a little bit of introduction. I'm going to talk about some challenges next that organizations have, especially from a sales manager perspective. Like they got all this stuff out there and they have no idea what's going on. So how do we solve that with SugarCell? With some practical examples. Then we're going to go through some key capabilities in SugarCell, and then I'm going to do a one of those big key capabilities that are in SugarCell for sales managers that will help you do lots of different things. I'll do a demo of that. Then we'll talk about best practice. Now I'm going to talk about best practices throughout the whole hour that we're together, but um, that's just where we're going to address some major best practices. Then we'll have a Q&A, and that's where if there's any questions that I've missed in chat that you have asked that I forgot, misplaced it, it was too far up the list and I thought I covered it and I didn't, or I wasn't clear enough, we'll discuss it, ask it again in the QA so I'll know just in chat. And then I actually have had some people send questions to me also beforehand, which is great. I'm fine with that. Actually, it helps me because I can be prepared with a better answer for you. And then we'll close up with some additional resources, and that's where I'm going to put some links into chat. So be prepared as we go through the material. I may copy some things off my slides and throw it into chat just so you have those hyperlinks that you can bookmark and look at them later. Okay? If you're interested in that topic, doesn't mean you have to. Okay? All right, so we're going to talk about challenges first, and specifically, I'm dealing with manufacturing, but I don't think this is very different for a lot of groups if you're doing anything with a product, right? So sometimes you have longer sales cycles that you anticipate, and you got to deal with all of that time that you had to invest is the word I'm looking for in that sales cycle. You may have many stakeholders. You may have to coordinate. Sorry, my clicker's not working. There you go. You may have to coordinate coordinate with others to complete pro products that may be going out. I just put a car there. Could be anything you're selling, right? And then you also have challenges with production and inventory. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can incorporate some of that information that may be in another system into Sugar and what you may need help with. Okay. You may not be able to do it all by yourself because you don't have the resources in your organization to do that, and that's fine. I will give you some hints on where you can get some help for that. Okay. All right, so that's some big things that manufacturing has to do with. So why optimize your sales operation? Okay, and what does that mean? Well, first of all, in this process, one of the biggies is we want to reduce any friction and manual work. So that anything that's going to take a little bit more time than usual, we want to make sure that's faster. Okay, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how we do that with automation. All right. We also want to improve data accuracy. Some of that is going to be on you as the admin. I'm sorry to tell you that, but that's the truth. And as the sales manager, it also has to do with the admin. And you may be both people. You may be the admin and the sales manager, sales director. If you're both, bless you for doing that, but that's your job, right? Is to make sure that that data out there is correct. And if you're running reports and looking at dashboards and things like that, you're going to notice some of the outliers if things are not looking correct, and some of that data may not be correct. Okay. Also, we want to enable alignment with production planning. And that's a big one, right? That has to do with many parts of the company besides just the sales team, right? And that doesn't just mean that sugar has to only be for sales, right? It can be for customer support or whatever you call them, your support team, customer service, whatever that is, or your implementation team or your delivery team or production or whatever. We want to make sure that aligns. If a lot of that information is in an external source, like an ERP system, we're going to talk a little bit how we connect sugar to that ERP system so that we do have that alignment. And we want to free up reps to sell, right? We don't want them just sitting putting data in or importing data or exporting data out and cleaning it. We want them to be selling. So whatever we can do in order to make that happen faster, the better. So I have four simple steps to make Sugar CRM work better. So for your organization. So first, it's a great idea to, and this is something that is outside of Sugar. Okay, this does not have to do with something you're going to do inside of Sugar. Before you set up your instance, and for those of you that are already using Sugar, you've been using it for a while, and you're like, oh, this is terrible the way this is set up. You may want to rethink these things. Okay, so the first one is your sales process. What is involved within that? And that also has to deal with lots of things like handoffs between, say, your marketing team to sales and then sales to um, customer support, or it could just be I need to know all the steps, all of the when does we call something qualified as a lead? When do we say do we need some more stages and leads than we only have? We only have four. Maybe we need seven. The sales stages that came for with Sugar are okay, but they're not specific to our organization. So how do I customize that? Which, by the way, I teach how to do in the admin class if you want to attend that. The schedules on Sugar Club. Okay, so lots of things can be done by the admin, but after those decisions are made, then the admin can do those things. But those decisions need to be across the board for everybody. This is the way we're going to do everything. This is what qualified lead means, and we're all going to do it exactly the same. Before you have a unified system, sometimes that's all willy-nilly. Everybody's doing their own thing, and I think qualified means this, and somebody else thinks qualified means something else. Okay? Step two. Configure lead assignment and territories. So territories doesn't necessarily have to be a region. It could be products that people are interested in, whatever that may be. You want to align those or make some grouping of people, right? You probably already have something like that, but we need to think about those concepts when we organize Sugar also. Clarify your sales cycles and your sales stage. I kind of bust this bubble a little sooner, but make sure everybody knows what negotiation review is. Everybody knows what identify buyer. Whatever the sales cycle may be or the sales stage, make sure everybody knows what that is. Okay. For those of you, let me get a quick raise of hands. How many of you use revenue line items? Raise your hand if you use revenue line items instead of just opportunities. Use revenue lines. Okay, a few of you. Okay, so those of you that are using revenue line items, you have the stages in revenue line items, and then the opportunity has a status. For those of you that just use opportunities, you have the sales stage in opportunities only. Okay, so you won't have a status, an additional status field in opportunities because that's only if you have revenue line items, just FYI. So I may use stage and status interchangeably for opportunities and revenue lines. I just want to make sure you understand that those because you're like, I don't have a status in my opportunity. That's only if you have revenue line items turned on, okay? Which is also a biggie, guys. If you, and I say guys generically, people, if you want revenue lines, you want a granular view of all of the sales deals for a particular opportunity, then you can turn revenue line items on. If you turn them on, that's for every single person in your organization. It's not just everybody gets to pick and choose which one they want to do, and reports will be run off one or the other. Okay. All right. Also, you want to set up some quotas. You want to set up some KPIs so that then you can measure your success and then also see what comes from that. So we have some videos out on Sugar Club about setting quotas, obviously for forecasting, but you may have other types of quotas. You may have, I have a quota for sales rep needs to make this many calls a month, and we can run reports on that. We can also, you can also see that from a list view if you want to see that in the calls or the meetings or emails or however you could want to track or view somebody's maybe compensation on commission on how many calls they make in a particular week or a month or whatever time period. Okay. All right. So how Sugar Cell is going to enhance your sales process, right? So if you had something that was a little um, uh, obscure process that maybe not everybody knew about or how to deal with or how to use, then this may be, I like to use the word fluffy, meaning that everybody's like, I'm not really sure what our process is or anything. This may help some of that, trying to get things more aligned, sugar aligned with your organization. And you may need to align yourself, right? You need to get yourself in order before you can put things into sugar. And sometimes that's painful. Just FYI, it's just, I know that I've been through many implementations in many of the companies I've been through. So take your time, make sure you've got enough time to do the entire implementation if you're doing it yourself or re-implementation. Okay, so first of all, there are AI-powered insights inside of Sugar called Sugar Predict, and they are seen. I'm going to give you a link to this in just a little bit. They are seen in the leads and the opportunities modules as dashlets, and you'll be able to see some predictive AI information on whether they think a lead is going to convert or be qualified, like what percentage is it high risk, do you think it'll go, blah blah. Based on, also once you convert it, it will also say this opportunity has a probability of closing of this amount, and give you a bunch of other information about that particular account, sorry, opportunity that's linked to account, and the folks that you're talking to about that opportunity, it will also be linked to the opportunity itself. But that predictive information is just going to be in the leads and opportunities module right now, because we're dealing with, making money, right? Closing deals. So that AI information is there. And like I said, I'll show you a quick screenshot of that a little bit later, and also give you a link where you can find some more information. Actually, I have it right here. I thought I had it later, but I got one sooner. So I'm going to go ahead and put this guide, and this is for everybody. This is the link to the AI prediction user guide. So if you haven't looked at AI yet, there are some prerequisites in order for AI to work in your particular system. So check that out. We also have in SugarCell, we have workflows. Okay. We also have a whole class on Sugar BPM. I'm going to demo in a little bit some of the stock Sugar BPM templates that are in the system, but you can create new ones and specific ones to your organization. So that's another thing that helps enhance, like somebody's doing some manual thing every week. I got to run this report, then I got to contact these 5 people. We can automate some of that stuff. Okay. Not automate running the report, but automate running, getting the information that was going to feed a report, and then the steps that have to happen afterwards. Okay. Also, we can have information in Sugar, or should have information in Sugar, about leads and opportunity management. Yes, it does have some of the AI information in it, but just how we get from a lead to an opportunity and how that flows through the system. And then we have seamless integrations, whether it's just integrated with the modules that are already in the system, or modules that you can create as an admin in the system, or any integrations that you have, let's say with like an ERP system, for example. It should look fairly seamless to the end user. They shouldn't have to be able to say, oh, this is from this system. They probably may know that at this point because they worked in the ERP system already, but we want to make sure that that information is also in Sugar too. That's why it's an integration. And a lot of the configurations that you have to do, and we call them configurations, are something that's no code, right? That's through the UI. If we do a customization, that's in the code. Technically, those are the two word definitions out there. Okay. So let's talk about more capabilities inside of Sugar. And this first one, this first slide, excuse me, has to do with just territories and team management. So after you've defined your territory, your geo, your product segments, you can start doing things like automatically assigning your leads based on the criteria of your organization. Now, if this is a workflow, I'm going to go through this one in just a minute, and we're also going to demo it here in a little bit. But this is called route lead and create follow-up tasks. So after the lead is created, it's triggered, and then it's going to go through several steps before. It makes assignment based on some criteria, and then it's going to create a follow-up activity for that specific user I just made the assignment to, and that will be the workflow. Okay, now if you have overlapping territories, you can also handle that with a role in that you can set up certain criteria, like only these fields are available to the owner of the record. Now, two different groups of people can possibly see that with a team, that particular record, but only the people that have the ability in a role to edit it will be allowed to edit it. Sometimes you don't want people to be able to edit other people's leads or opportunities that they don't own, that's not assigned to them. So you can set that up in a role. So let me walk through this workflow just real quick because we're going to go into a little bit more detail when we do our demo. So the first thing is the trigger, right? The first thing is leads created, right? It needs to have this, or it won't go past the second little action here. It needs to have a country and a state or province, wherever you may be. So in this particular scenario, right, you may only do like Canada. You don't do any other country. So it's just the province or states in your particular country. So that's all the trigger is. A new lead is created. The next one's what we call a business rule. It looks like a little recycle, and that just means that you can reuse business rules, and it has some pieces of paper in the background. I actually see this as more of a spreadsheet myself, but it's a big table of if then, right? If this, then display that. So this one is simply looking at all of the fields that have to do with country. So if the country is, and this is this next section. So here at the top, let me get my little arrow back over here. If the country is Europe, I'm going to scoot back so you can see it. Europe, it's going to go this route. If it's Asia Pacific, it's going to round robin to all of the users in that team, Asia Pacific. If it's Latin America, round robin, round robin. If it's US, then it's going to do a different business rule. In this table, it says if the state is Texas, then do south. If it is west, say the state is California, then it's going to be in the west. Okay, if it's Seattle is the city and the Washington is the state, then it's going to be northwest. Okay, so that's what this middle section is doing. It's actually doing the assignment. Okay, then it's going to send a little message to the person it just assigned it to saying, hey, you just got this new lead assigned to you. Okay. And then it's going to create a follow-up record in so many days out that needs to be completed by the same user. Okay. So as soon as I create a lead in this particular stock Sugar BPM template is enabled because they're disabled by default, then it's going to trigger this workflow. Okay. And we're going to see that in a little bit. So you also have key dashboards and reports that are out there. So out of the box with Sugar, you get all these reports. You also get a bunch of Sugar BPM templates, but you also get some dashboards. Now, the two that I have here are management. We have the sales manager dashboard and the executive dashboard. But in the last class, we also talked about the sales, not class, but the last webinar, excuse me. We also talked about the sales rep dashboard. Now, those are just out of the box reports that you get, stock reports, dashboards. If you want to use them, you can. Okay. If you don't, then you don't have to. You don't have to ever, you just can unstar them in the dashboard management. So, oh, got a question in Sugar. Where does a user get two assignment notifications in this BPM? Okay, good question. Now, if you have record assignment turned on for everybody has record assignment turned on, and they also get a notification. Yes, they will get two notifications in their email. If you don't have it turned on, then they'll just get this one, or you can take that step out and make this process your own, right? You can customize it. That's a good question. Thank you, Tegan. Okay. Now, let's say you really like this sales manager dashboard, but you want to make a few changes to it. You want to make it more your own. Okay, easy peasy. All you got to do is duplicate the dashboard. You're going to have to give it a different name because it can't have the same one, and then save it. Well, actually, as soon as you put the name in and save, then it's going to be saved. You don't have to save as you go. So if you add more dashlets, remove dashlets, it's saving as you add them in. So you don't have to stay with the ones that we give you, but it's a starting point. We didn't want it to just used to just be blank, right? And it's like, good luck, put whatever dashboards you want out there. And people go, I'm not even sure what I should have on my dashboard. So we wanted you to start with something, right? Rather than just this blank dashboard and nobody knows what to do. Also, another cool feature, this is free of charge, people. It's not even on the slide, but I want to mention it. You can have, if you have a super user at your organization, and they've got all these dashboards and filters saved and on each of the modules, and they are rocking and rolling, right? You can, or you can ask your admin to go in and copy what they have on their dashboards, their filters, and a bunch of other stuff, and paste it to an entire team, paste it to a particular brand new user that doesn't know where to begin because they've never used Sugar before, things like that, and you or an entire role even, and then that information transfers over. It doesn't mean that it's going to remove any of the filters that they already have. It's just going to add those additional filters saved, and it's just going to give them additional dashboards that this super user created at your organization. And that super user may be you, okay? So if that is great, just make sure you share the information with the rest of your team. So we have some role-based dashboards. We have some, and it's real-time updates, right? Something changes in the system, you go back to the dashboard, it refreshes. Now, if you're like me and you have multiple tabs of Sugar open, one of them's your dashboard, and then you're working on a different tab doing something else. It may even be on a completely different monitor, so you can see everything going on, which is great if you have that feature or ability to do so. If you change something in a record that's going to change something on your dashboard, you just have to either refresh your browser, just hit the recycle if you're in Chrome, the little circle, refresh, or right click refresh. That both of those work in Chrome because that's what I work in. Sorry, I don't work in other browsers anymore. Um, so that's one way to do it. Also, there is a refresh in each dashlet. So if you're looking for a particular dashlet report chart to update and you already had it open, just click that one in the header of that dashlet and it will recycle, which means refresh that particular dashlet. But I just refresh the whole page and then every single thing is updated, right? So whether that's in a list view dashlet or a chart dashlet or any other kind of dashlet that's out there. Also, there are custom and exportable reports that are available in the reports module. It can have, if it has a chart, then it also could be added to a dashlet and even into one of the stock dashlets that that we have out of the box, right? So that's available to you. All right. Okay, so we also have automation and notification. So we've added this new field. I'm going to point it out real quick, in accounts last version. So if you're not in 25.1 yet, we just did 25.2, but 25.1 had this field called last interaction. It's a date field. So whether it was a call or a meeting or whatever it was, right, that was linked to an interaction with that particular customer, it's going to update this last interaction date field. So with that field, then you can run automation on follow-ups, reminders. Hey, I've noticed that the last interaction date on this account was over a month. And if it's over a month, then I want this process to kick off that says, create this call record and assign it to the user of the account, something like that, right? So you can set up automations based on fields that may already be in with Sugar, so you don't have to add anything extra, right? You may also need to do some kind of approval, right? Process, whatever it may be, that says if the stage gets to this particular level, then I need approval done, right? Every time we get to negotiation review, a manager needs to approve it before it goes to the next stage. You also may need to do something like this. so that records don't get stagnant. So we have another out of the box workflow that you can tweak to fit whatever, may fit your organization. This is called Stagnant Opportunity Reminder. So it's either on a new opportunity or an updated opportunity, and it has some stages within it, right? It first says, okay, 15 days out, if something hasn't changed, then we need to go this particular route. If it's prior to 15 days, then we need to send these particular steps or things out to the customer, whether it's an email, whether it's a task or a call record or a task for the manager to do something, whatever it may be, right? Within that particular process. You can even go, that's more complicated than I need it to be. I only need to have 4 steps. Then you can create it from scratch. You don't have to use us, but you can, and you don't have to run it off our last interaction date either. You can run it off last modified date or whatever you want to do. That's your call. It's your instance. You're the one that's going to be building it. Okay. All right. Okay. So just because I'm going to go ahead and put these in, I just want to go ahead. Okay. Just 1 second. I'm going to pull this off my slide deck here and put these into chat. Okay. So this is just some resources for later. Oh, it didn't bring the links. Okay. Hold on. Yep. No links, right? Nope. Okay. Super. 1 second. I'm going to put the links in here if I can get out of this. Copy link. Okay, so I'm going to put each one of these in. So the first one, it has to do with just connectors. And you may need to have some connectors set up in order for certain APIs to run within the system. So Sugar provides some open APIs and connectors that allow you to integrate all kinds of external data sources, whatever you may need. An admin needs to do it though. They can configure and manage these connectors through the connector settings, which is the link that I am just about to send you right now. And then there's also some integrations that we already have, right? We already have an integration to Microsoft and Google within the system. So if those were two of the ones you're like, hey, we really need Google. Well, we have actually 2 articles. Let me copy this one. This is the next one here is going to be for the Microsoft. So if you need some kind of connector with your Microsoft system, if you need a connection with Google, these are specifically written for admins. So if you're not one, that's fine. Just go to your admin and go, hey, I need to have an integration with, or we need to have an integration with Microsoft. Is that something that you can do? There's also a whole article. Sorry, this is not an article. This is a application guide section about the API platform functionality on the admin page. So the other 2 bullets I was going to talk about is you can integrate ERP and inventory integration. So on your opportunities module, you can actually see what inventory is left, any kind of like numbers, so you can actually see what there is left in that particular product line that you may be selling, and that is going to come from an ERP system or some other system that has that information that's integrated into Sugar. Now, let me talk a little bit about, let me check the time here. Okay, we're good. Integrations, okay? How many of you, if you're a partner, don't raise your hand, but how many of you are working with a partner right now? One of Sugar CRM's partners. Okay. Okay, a few of you. So, and how many of you, so I assume the rest of you are not, how many of you are working directly with Sugar on implementing your instance? Like we're helping your PS team. Okay, a few of you too. So the rest of you are not, I'm going to assume either that's true. So this is my recommendation. If you don't have someone in your organization that knows a lot about integrating with a ERP system, or you don't have a large IT department to do it, I would contact Sugar. You can contact your customer success manager or even the person that sold you Sugar, and they'll get you the right person, and see what the prices are for our PS team to help you with your integration to whatever system it is you want to integrate to, okay? And that's true also if you want to work with one of our partners. And we have a page on our website that lists all the partners that you can do that with, or you can just contact us and we will get you an answer, okay? Even if you just want to do sales at sugarcrm.com and ask a question, that email will get routed to the right person to give you an answer. Okay, sales at sugarcrm.com. All right. Okay, let me make sure I put all four of those links. Yeah. Okay. So just bookmark them. You know, we may need to do something with them in a little bit. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do a demonstration real quick of the workflow that we kind of went through a little bit at a very high level. But this is something, this is elementary, but well, it doesn't look too elementary, but it is pretty elementary workflow that you could create something similar. Right? You may not even work internationally, so you may not need this particular step, but I want to point a couple of things out. So first of all, before we actually go into the picture of the workflow, I want to talk about there's two business rules. So business rules are reusable if-then tables that are available for any workflow that you put in. Now, out of the box, you get three. Okay, one has to do with cases and the other two has to do with leads. And both of these, the US region and the global territory, are not fields in Sugar. We don't have a field in the leads module called region, and we don't have a field called territory. That's just what we're calling it in the system in order to route it to the correct person. Okay. All right. So let's start with global. So here's what, oh, sorry, let me go right to the design. So here is what the table looks like. Okay, everything on the left is the condition. This is the if. So if the country is Germany, for example, it's going to return a value of Europe. If it's Switzerland, Europe, if it's US, North America, that's also true for, oh, sorry, USA. Canada would be Canada, Mexico, Latin America, etc. Okay, so if it's blank, which it could be because it's not a required field, it will just turn an answer of false and it won't do an assignment, okay? But we could make a step for that if we wanted to. We could say if it's blank, then go to this step, okay? All right, so that's one workflow. This is just the international one. If I go back to the US, it lists all the states when I go into the design. Yes, this just means it's already in use. That's fine. I'm not going to make any changes on it. So if it's these states, then return this particular value. Now, it just means it's going to kick out W, it's going to kick out SW, or it's going to kick out MW, whatever it is. And then when we actually go to the workflow, this workflow right here that happens to already be enabled, I already did that. It was not enabled when I got this instance. It was disabled. Yours will be disabled too, all of them. So when we go into it, it has a little record first, and then you can go into the design, which is the picture. And there's that same workflow we already saw, right? The first one. And this business rule is the first one. This is the one that has to do with territories. So all this one is saying is if it returned a value of Europe, then it's going to go to this route right here, and it's going to round robin assignment of the record to that particular team. So this would be EMEA, save, and this would be Asia Pac, etc. Right? That's how the admin would set these up. That makes sense? Then if it's the US, it's going to go down to this one, which is another business rule, right? And this business rule is the one for the US, okay? And then if the state falls into one of these categories, then it's going to round robin to that particular team. And round robin just simply means if you have 5 people, it's going to send it first when it round robins to that team to the first person in the list, and then second and third and fourth and fifth, and then back to number 1 again, 2, 3. It doesn't go, oh, this person has a lot of work that they haven't finished. I better not, give them any more work. It doesn't do that. It just goes around equally and assigns records out in a round robin fashion. Okay. And then once that's done, it's going to send a notification, unless you take that one off, which you can. Easy peasy. You just take that arrow off and then put a follow-up. This says within 8 hours of the due date. So I'm going to trigger this one just so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to leave this open because we're going to come back to it. I'm going to go to a lead. and I'm going to enter a new lead in, okay, in this second tab, create a lead. So this is for Paul Kilmore. Get my cap locks. And he is the VP of customer service. Okay, I'm just going to do what I need in order for this to trigger. Okay, so I need an email address just because it's required. Pete Kilmore at ipm.com, and the name of the account, sorry, better have to put that in. Ironwood Precision. Okay, I totally misspelled that, I think. Yes, there we go. And this is Ironwood, one word. Okay, and then I'm going to put the address in. This is the part that I need in order for it to trigger. So I'm going to put in the address, but this is the field that they care about, is the country, right? So I'm going to put United States. Okay, if I put another state, it would still work. Okay, so let me tab and see how it automatically copies from the primary address to the alternate address when you have that copy checkmark box set. So United States is what I need, right? Or any country that we service. Okay, so I'm going to click save. If I missed a required field, it would have stopped me. And we're going to go check and see if it ran the process. So I'm going to go back over here to my other tab and go to processes. And inside of process, there's a thing called manage processes. That's process definition, this one. Manage process. This is something an admin can give it to someone that's like a manager, a director, VP, whatever. Process management. This is the one that just run Paul Kilmore, this guy, right? So let's check this little eyeball out where it says status. And if I pull this picture up, it says, okay, it created a lead and it checked if it was what region it went to. So it was a US region, and specifically and what it assigned it to one of these regions, but I didn't put a state in, right? So what Sugar did is goes, oh, you don't have a state, so I'm going to assign it to the sales manager. And that's where it's waiting for them to do a particular task. If I would have signed it to a state, it would have actually created the task also. So notice back on this one that it is in progress. This other one ran early. This is another one that I did earlier. And this one, we'll look at the lead here in a second, actually completed. So this one's route, let's look at it. Assigned it to the south, because I think I put Texas in. And then, so if it's south, it goes all the way up to assign the lead to, let them send an email to them saying, hey, you know, Joe or whoever it is assigned it to, you're assigned to this lead, and then it created a task. And I'm going to show you what it, if you do it that route, meaning you don't leave the state province blank, then on that particular lead, which is Tim Ramson, let's see here, and oh, sorry, I picked Georgia. Okay, so Georgia was the South region, and then it created this task automatically through a workflow, automatically done. Okay. Record's been assigned to you. You got an email that said you got a record notification. If you didn't get the notification, it's not turned on in the system, or the workflow would have sent it to you. And then also, it also created this task for you to complete in the next 8 hours. Okay, so it defaults to not started and a status of high. So pretty important. And you can make it in the system that users can't delete records, like they can't just delete this task. So once it's created, it's out there and it's waiting for this status to be updated. You can have lots of different workflows for lots of different records that have statuses so that they get done. And if it's simply that, hey, they need to send an email to you as their manager, you may be able to want to do that. I like to do tasks in the system rather than emails, because emails can be deleted and then it's gone. And then you know, you can act like that thing didn't happen, but a task you can set up where they can't be deleted and they're always out there. Always be able to see those tasks that need to be done. Okay. All right. Let me cover some best practices and then we'll do some Q&A. Okay. gotten a few more questions, so I will talk about those too. So, couple things that this is just recommendations that we have, somewhere in our documentation. I've kind of pulled them all together, but these are biggies so that you get the correct reports, the correct dashboards, the correct workflows that are going to be sending out. And I think the second one we're going to talk about is really important for all those things to look the way they need to for you. So the first one, recommendation that I came up with is you need to document and revisit any processes that you have. And that may be true before you even put them into sugar. You may have like, I don't know, 20 processes that people all over the organization do, and they are either double work or they're the same task, slightly different. And if you knew all of those, you could document and go, oh, we only need 7 workflows rather than 20, right? So I'm going to combine some of those. I'm going to not use some of them because I think they're bad workflows, but as an organization, you probably need to make those decisions and then just implement the ones that work for you. Now, once they're in sugar, you also need to revisit them because they may be after time, this one didn't go well. That's okay. You can remove that workflow or tweak it to meet your specific needs. Do what you need to do to make it work for your organization. Here's the biggie, right? You need to make sure that you have good data hygiene. So you as the manager, your admin's going to be doing this too. You need to focus on making sure the information is put into the system correctly. Whether you're doing, mass imports into sugar, whether people are manually entering into the system, it's coming from a web to lead form off of your system, which by the way, web to lead forms can be created from inside of sugar. It comes with the product. Just need to make sure that that data is correct. Now, if someone's manually entering it, even on a web page, like a potential customer, they don't always spell everything right. They don't always pick the right thing on a drop down. So things need to be checked. Once a person looks at a record, especially if it's brand new, they need to fill in all the other information that they know for that record and verify that the other information is correct, right? Otherwise, running reports on it aren't going to look very good because your data is not very good. Okay. Number 3, start small with workflows and reiterate. So I recommend you do some real basic. You don't have to start off with, and your lead assignment may be super simple. If this, then that. Okay, you can put a workflow together. Maybe everything just needs to be assigned to a manager, and that manager assigns it out to everybody else. Okay, if that's what you want, you can set a workflow that does that. Okay. However you want to set it up, start very simple. Say you have like 12 workflows that we want to implement, break them into simple, intermediate, and complex. Okay. And do those simple ones first. Test them in your sandbox first. I'm going to repeat that. Test them in your sandbox first. Once they're good, then you can export them and import them into production. Okay. And then you can get more advanced. After you're like, oh, that worked great, you'll also feel a little better about them because you'll be like, hey, I just created a workflow and it worked awesome. So give you a little bit of, pep in your step to do the next level. Also, engage reps early with training. So I know I'm in training, so I'm going to say this, but I'm not going to, go into it a whole lot. I just want to say, if something changes, then make sure in the meeting, next staff meeting you have on, let's say, Monday morning at 10 p.m. your time zone, just bring up, hey, FYI, we're going to change this on Friday. This is what it used to be, and this is what it is now. It could be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be a video you create or anything that's going to cost a lot of money. It could just simply be, this is an announcement. Or if you have a bunch of slides because you're doing them online, put up a screenshot. This is what it used to be. Now we're going to see this. Used to be a text box. Now it's a drop down field. Okay. So we can have more standard answers in our reports. Okay. Something like that. All right. Next, let's open it up for QA. And I'm going to start. If you have Thank you for telling me, Keegan. If you have any questions, please put them into chat. I have a few people that have asked some things, so I'm going to answer some of those, and then we'll jump into any questions that you have in chat. So Diego asked, can I customize dashboards for sales managers versus reps? So out of the box, we have a dashboard for sales manager, and we have one for reps already. You can take that one and duplicate it, or you can create your own and then share it with a particular team. So let me show you what I mean by share. So maybe you created the dashboard that you really like and you want to share that with someone else. So I'm going to just show you on this particular dashboard right here. So let's say this executive dashboard's great, but I want to make some changes to it. And you're not going to be able to, right? It's not going to allow you to change any of the particular dashboards that are there. So I'm going to go down to this little float menu. Let me put my arrow on it down here at the bottom right-hand corner. And there is an option to duplicate the dashboard. And when you do, it's going to call it copy of whatever dashboard. But obviously you can change that. I don't want to call it that. I'm going to say Jen's, because that's who I'm logged in as, Jen's executive dashboard or Jen's dashboard. Let's just call it that. Okay. Let's call it Jen. Jen Smith. I think that's her name. Okay. And once you click off, it already has a little star by it. You see that little star, right? Okay, that's important. I'm going to tell you why. In the dashboard menu, there's a manage dashboards, and all the ones that are starred are going to be the ones that are going to show up for this particular user. So these are all the dashboards that are on the home page. All of these. Here's Jen's right here. So if she loves her dashboard and she wants to share it with other teams or other groups, she can go in and add because it's her private team right now. It's just her. She's the admin, so there's no one above her in the system. So it's just her. She's the only one that's going to see this dashboard. But let's say she wants to show this with the West sales team. Okay, so she picks West and save. And then if I logged on as a West person, they will be able to see that now in their list in Manage Dashboards. And they can click the star, and then it will show up in their list when they hover, right? In this particular page. There's Jen Smith right here, dashboard. Okay. So hopefully that answers that for you, Diego, but you can customize and create any dashboards that you want. Leah asked, can we reassign records if a rep leaves without losing the history? And the answer to that is yes. Okay, so there is a reassign records underneath the user management on the admin page that lets you reassign multiple modules at one time. Now you can do mass update for every module, but that can be kind of time consuming. But you can do all of it in one place on the reassign records for whatever. Now it will show that particular user may be inactive and you maybe actually click delete on that user. That's fine. The history will still be there. And that's what we call a soft delete. You won't be able to see it in the list, but that user exists in the background so that their history will stay intact. So even if they left 6 months ago, Todd left, and I can still see Todd's work in the particular system based on the date and time he did it and what he did, what it was, what he changed it to. Okay, I still see that in the audit log history. All right. Sanjay asks, can sales see production capabilities or stock inventory availability? So yes, if you have an integration with, say, an ERP system, and you can integrate those field values into new fields that you can create in Studio that will be populated from that integration. Okay. He asked another one. What happens when production timelines change? Okay, so you can have the system in Sugar create a automated alert through Sugar BPM if something changes, or you can have something trigger a particular alert based on the integration. So it can be built into the integration so people know, oh, those records that I own, they were all updated with this new information. Okay, so that either way, both of those are true. Okay, here's a good one. So this is a little more on like managing your staff. So Lars asked, what type of coaching task can be automated? You can automate a lot of them, right? So if you're just going to talk about, I'm just going to review pipelines this week, you can set up processes that will set times like calls or meetings with each of your particular employees. Like it can round robin to everybody on the team to have a particular appointment at a particular time to talk about whatever is in their particular pipeline. If you need to make those kind of reviews, or if they're gotten a lot of stalled deals, it can prompt something to be like a reminder to be sent to the sales manager to say, hey, this opportunity has been stalled for, 3 weeks. You may want to check in with this user or any other coaching task. You can set that up in Sugar BPM for sure. Okay. All right. Let me look and make sure I didn't miss any here. Okay, so someone asked, how hard is it to set up a dashboard and a workflow? They said dashboard slash workflows. Okay, so dashboard's really easy, right? I can copy another person's dashboard, and once I have that particular dashboard set up, let's go back to Jen's here. Confirm. Um, so if Jen created, she owns this dashboard. She can go in and remove dashlets completely. She can move dashboards around, like dashlets, excuse me, on a dashboard. But creating one is really simple. You just go down to this float menu and you can create a new dashboard. This is this top one. You can duplicate an existing one. You can delete a dashboard that you created or that you own, um, and add dashlets. That's what these are, dashlets to it. Now, workflows are a little more complicated. Okay, there's a lots of bits and pieces to a workflow. We actually have training on that that's specific. Now, there is documentation for it too, so that may be helpful. So you may want to get more information about that. Here's another question Emily's asking. Do we need IT to make changes? So most of the changes in Sugar that you can do, the configurations can be done by the admin, can handle them. They don't have to have, any ability to do code. But if you're going to be doing any kind of complex integration, then you probably need to have someone from IT involved, just because they'll know a lot more of the information in order to get that integration done correctly. Okay. All right. I don't see any other questions. If I missed one, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer any. So I want to talk about real quick just some summary and next steps. Okay, so let me pull that up. So just a few things. So you may want to think about doing streamlining your sales processes, making sure that they still make sense before you even put them in Sugar, and that they are some benefit to your organization. What's the purpose of this? What is it supposed to measure? What is it supposed to do? What it's supposed to improve in order before you put them into the system. Leverage automation. So I would check out the link on Sugar Predict it talks specifically about those dashlets that show up on your leads record view and opportunities record view. So pretty important, and any other automation stuff out there. We also have smart guides you may be interested in. There's also training out there on smart guides inside of Sugar Club. You can just search smart guides, which is just the big umbrella is called Sugar Automate. But what the user actually sees in the system is the smart guide that they can start up and then step by step use the same process every time for leads and every time for opportunities. And you can use them for anything, but that's what they're usually used for. We talked about integrating with the ERP system or an inventory system or any integration for that matter. Whether you're going to use a partner or you're going to use our PS team, we can help with any integration that you may want to have. Also use dashboards for visibility. So for your visibility of your team, but also for stuff that maybe just you specifically, there's lots of things out there that you can pull from reports that you create. We have a reports class, by the way, also. So you may be interested in doing something with that too. Hold on one second. My alarm's going off that I need to stop talking. Okay, so I'm gonna say one more thing, and that is explore resources and recordings on Sugar Club. Now you register for this session from Sugar Club, so you know how to get there. Probably already had that bookmarked. So there's lots of areas, and one thing I want to point out is in the top left-hand corner of Sugar Club, and that is ask a question. That is the best section in this whole thing. And I'm going to say that over training. Okay. If you got a question and it is immediate and I want to know about this particular topic and you don't find it anywhere else after you did a search, then ask and somebody in our community, whether it's an actual employee or a partner or another person maybe in your industry, say you're in finance, I want to know about how people use accounts in this particular question. Okay, someone in finance was probably going to notice that because they're also in that same group and they want, hey, I don't know that answer, but I want to know what people have answered. So they'll follow it until someone gives you an answer, and then everybody that's interested in it will get the same information at one time. Okay. Oh, good question. I have a question in chat. One more before we end up. How do you export dashboards to another instance? So you can do that in the new feature called Package Builder and Deployer. And there's also training. So when you go to Sugar Club, this isn't, I'm actually not in Sugar Club, this is just a picture. Go into training and certification, or you can just do a search at the top. That's probably the fastest way. Just put, I got to think about it, publish, excuse me, package builder and deployer, and it will send you to a training course how to do that. That is one of the things that you can pack up is dashboards and move them to another instance. Okay, good question. Okay, so next month's session is already scheduled on a Sugar Club. Make sure that you go to the Zoom link that's on the website and register for that one. The next couple of ones, off the top of my head, one of them is importing, one of them is Sugar BPM. So we'll go in a lot more detail about some of the processes that you may need to use when you're using Sugar Cell. Okay? All right, y'all have a great rest of your day. I'll be sending the recording out to everybody intended and all the resources. And if even for folks that weren't able to attend, I will send them the link to the recording also. All right, you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you maybe in another SugarU live webinar series in the future. All right, bye-bye.